Hello and welcome to the SDG Media Zone at the UN Ocean Conference in Nice, France. We have with us Ms. Inger Andersen, the Executive Director of the UN Environment Programme, and Mr. Lewis Pugh, endurance swimmer, ocean advocate, and a pioneer for the ocean, a patron of the ocean for the UN Environment Programme. So over to you for a quick discussion.
We are in for a treat because what this man has accomplished, we're really in for a treat because what this man has accomplished is not what many can. And I was wondering whether you're starting with all the oceans and waters that start with R, but you just broke it. There was a Ross Sea, the Red Sea, the River Hudson, and now you went around the Martha's Vineyard. I want everyone to understand that what we have seen from Lewis Pugh is absolutely amazing, and we are so honored that you are our ambassador and patron of the oceans. That's a very fancy title, but it's a title that means something because what you do and what you show the world when you do these incredible swims is you bring an eye of the world and the attention of the world to the ocean and to the role that it plays. Now, this one was to mark 50 years since Jaws came out, and I was sort of wondering, because is it really 50 years? I actually had to go back and Google it. That just aged me right there. But I was following you nearly every minute, but all to see how you were doing, because that was a tough swim. Tell us about it. What did you learn? What did you see? What did you feel? Over to you, Lewis.
Thank you so much. I can honestly say, Inge, it was one of the toughest swims of my life. So I've been swimming now for 40 years, but Martha's Vineyard, wow. And I didn't think it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be a long swim. It was going to be 12 days. I knew it was cold water. And I knew that because it's a global hotspot for great white sharks, there'd be the mental element of getting in every day and swimming. Anyway, what I hadn't anticipated was how the media would react. It was, so it's 50 years since Jaws. And Jaws has set the agenda for sharks for 50 years, that they are cold-blooded villains that are out to get us. And they are nothing of the sort. Yeah. They're absolutely incredible animals. They have survived 5 mass extinctions, okay? They've been around since before the dinosaur, but they are really threatened. And so I did this swim because I want to talk about just how precious they are. And before I do any big swim, I look for 3 numbers. What are the 3 numbers that can tell the story? Because there's so many numbers, there's so much data. What are the 3 numbers? And the first number was 50. So it's been 50 years since Jaws. We now need to set a new narrative for a new generation about how important they are. The second number was 274,000. That's the number of sharks which are killed on average globally every single day. It's just astonishing. It's really hard to get your mind around such an enormous number. The last number which I was communicating was 100 million. So if you take the 274,000 and you multiply that over the whole year, it is 100 million sharks are killed every single year. It's an ecocide. It's happening right now. And for our oceans to survive, we need sharks. They are so important.
I couldn't agree with you more. Another 50 that I want to mark is it's 50 years since the first multilateral environmental agreement for an ocean, that was the Mediterranean Sea, was enabled. We at UNEP have been the conveyor belt for some 17 regional seas conventions. The first one was the Mediterranean 50 years ago, the same year when it so happened that this movie came out. And so what UNEP has been working on over all these years is to get, whether it's the Baltic or the Red Sea or the Indian Pacific Ocean, or on the other side, the Atlantic Ocean or the Caribbean Sea. Each of these now have a convention that protects them. In a sense, it's biodiversity within national jurisdiction. And 184 countries are part of this. It means essentially just the landlocked countries are obviously not in these conventions. And back to the 50 years and sharks, another 50-year, actually it was 1972, where we agreed on the Convention for Migratory Species. And of course, sharks are migratory. And this convention deals with species that cross international boundaries, right? So that it's not enough if I sit in my country and I protect them, but we all need to lean in. And that's the Convention on Migratory Species, which has been quite important in listing critical species. So these ones, we are all agreeing, all the members to that convention, no can do. So this is a story about then how do we deal with getting a spotlight on a threatened species that is suffering from extinction or incredible pressure. And the sad part is when you see what people do, they just take the fin and they throw the carcass back into the sea. So it's just like unbelievable. So I'd be interested to hear in the media pickup, what happened there?
I tell you something, I had underestimated what it was going to be like. If you take Jaws, you take sharks, and you throw a swimmer in, right? I just didn't realize how much media would be, and it has been non-stop. And what's been really exciting is that a lot of the media has been, in the United States of America, has been on the traditional right-hand side. So audiences who wouldn't necessarily be interested in environmental issues, talking to them about sharks, it really resonated. And so it was interview after interview after interview on TV stations like Fox News. Tonight, a 1-hour interview on Fox News.
I love it.
And so we have to meet the public where they are now. And it was a very, very simple message. It was that sharks are precious. They're amazing. They're severely threatened. And if we're going to have a healthy ocean, we need to have sharks.
We need to have the top predators. This is kind of what we've learned also from wolves. And I mean, the top predator, when the top predator goes, the whole thing falls apart. And so they are a top predator, thankfully not of human beings. But of course, everybody will be wanting to know, Lewis, did you see one?
I swam for 12 days. And sometimes I'll be swimming over this sandy bottom, and then suddenly you go over some seagrass. And the seagrass is dark and it's black and it starts moving. And you think to yourself, did I see what I saw? And because I was doing interview after interview, early in the morning in Australia, late in the evening in America, and I'm talking about sharks all day long, and now I've got to get in the water. And the mind isn't good at turning off.
No.
And so there were many times in my mind when I thought, oh gosh, I've seen a shark. And then suddenly you come around the corner and you go into a whole group of seals.
Oh.
And then you know, with their seals, they're going to be sharks. And I love seeing seals. And I just wanted to say, please, just go away. I've got a swim to do.
Oh, wow. I mean, when you came under the bridge, which is the iconic bridge for those who have seen the movie, and I must admit, it's probably 40 years ago since I saw it or whatever, but at any rate, how did that feel? Because it is iconic. It has a place in the movie, but it also, you were this little person down in that fairly large span of water crossing that bridge. How was that?
Yeah, so the bridge Inga's referring to is called Jaws Bridge. And that, was, and that was the last little section, and I had swum around the whole island, and it had been absolutely exhausting. On some of the days, I had only been able to cover a kilometer. And when I got to the Jaws Bridge, I knew that I only had a few kilometers to go. And so, funny enough, going to Jaws Bridge was the realization that finally I'll be able to get this swim done and then deliver the message. That's the most important thing.
Well, that's what you've done, Lewis. I mean, you really delivered this message. And as you said, as we look into the next 50 years, we want to change this upside down, not this fearful creature that we should have the horrifying movie music around, but an understanding that this creature is absolutely critical. It's a harbinger of a healthy ocean. It tells us that this ocean is alive and well, and that the ecosystem underneath it is alive and and well, because the stuff that the sharks eat are plentiful. So I suppose your final message as we look into the next 50 years?
My message is that all predators are essential. So this was a swim talking about sharks, but it was also talking about polar bears. It was also talking about wolves. It was also talking about leopard seals and all these other magnificent animals that live in our precious oceans. So it was a swim for all of them.
Well, thank you. And we from the United Nations Environment Programme, what I want to say is that we are so honored to have this incredible, incredible person who's willing to swim with the UNEP hat, swim with that sponsorship without, and you know, we're poor at the UN, we don't actually pay anything.
No.
And we are so honored that you are committed in this way. We're very deeply grateful to our friends at the Global Environment Facility who have been leaning in because they can see too that this is helpful. And so I really want to thank you for being a patron of the oceans.
You know, Inga, it's something quite personal when you get into the water and you put on your swim cap, and there on the side it says UN Environment, because the work which this organization doing is crucially important, absolutely crucially important. So I'm proud to wear that cap every single day.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Lewis Pugh, ladies and gentlemen, patron of the oceans, an amazing spokesperson, and an absolutely wonderful sportsman. Thank you so much, Lewis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.